Museums are full of some of the coolest and craziest things that reel us in, and sometimes in their dark and mysterious halls, you can even stumble upon something related to a real-life murder. This is the story of the Red Slipper murder. Hi everyone, I'm Kat, and I grew up in the wonderful state of Ohio. Like most kids, we went on plenty of field trips, and one that always stuck out to me was visiting the Wyandotte County Historical Society Museum. It's a beautiful old Second Empire house full of artifacts containing hundreds of years' worth of community history. As a kid, I was obsessed with The Wizard of Oz and was immediately drawn to a display case containing a pair of red ballet slippers. I later came to realize that this lovely pair of slippers hid a dark and blood-stained past, as they are directly linked to a gruesome murder case. It all started in 1952 when Cynthia Peel, a young and budding student at Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware, Ohio, met fellow freshman Roy Schnagle Jr., and they began dating. Her friends claimed Roy was occasionally verbally and possibly physically abusive towards Cynthia, and her parents didn't approve of the relationship. Cynthia withdrew from college after her first year and moved back to White Plains, New York. Despite this, she stayed in contact with Roy, going as far as to take a job in his hometown of Cleveland so they could secretly meet up. In September of 1953, he arranged for Cynthia to stay at a shack near the campus's football field. He told her to stay put and to not be seen or tell anyone of her whereabouts. Days later, she got bored being cooped up inside all day and went for a walk where she struck up a conversation with someone she knew from school. She later told Roy about her encounter that evening, and he went into what was later described as a blind rage, punching and strangling her till she went limp. When he couldn't revive her, he used a metal pipe to bash her face in until she was unrecognizable. He drove her body north till he found a patch of uncut grass in Wyandotte County and dumped her body there in a ditch, assuming no one would find her for a long while. Little did he know, the next day that area was scheduled to be mowed, and her body, clothed only in a flannel nightgown and the infamous red slippers, was found by a county worker. The body was taken to the funeral home, and with no recent matching missing person reports, their team repaired her face enough for photographs, which were run in the local newspaper, but unfortunately turned up no solid leads. During her autopsy, they sadly discovered her to have been 3 to 4 months pregnant at the time of her murder. With no luck in identifying her and no tags on the gown, all they had left were the red slippers. At the time, there were strong doubts that the young sheriff, Dean McAllister, could solve the case, so he set out to prove them wrong and find her identity and the killer. Upon examination of the slippers, they found the cobbler's mark, which led them to the shoemaking shop in Columbus, Ohio. The shoemakers had only manufactured 250 pairs of that style of shoe, and the destination for that shoe sale was in the White Plains, New York area. McAllister went to New York and met with local law enforcement, who put him in touch with a mother who had recently reported her daughter missing after not hearing from her for a couple weeks. That woman turned out to be Cynthia's mother, and upon further discussion, she mentioned Cynthia had gone to school in Ohio. When the sheriff returned to Ohio and arrived at the campus to speak with her friends, they finally pinpointed the main suspect, Roy. Roy was taken in and interrogated over 3 days, finally breaking down and confessing to the murder. In order to avoid the death sentence, Roy agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder and wrote down everything that had happened. He also showed them where he had dropped the lead pipe into the Olentangy River, which was later found. Roy went to the state correctional facility, where by all accounts he was a model prisoner, eventually being paroled after just 10 years, allegedly for his good behavior. Reportedly, he went back to Cleveland, where he worked as a columnist under an assumed name for a newspaper and fell out of the public eye until 2013, the 60th anniversary of the case, when reporters began reaching out to him at his then home in Youngstown, Ohio. Weeks later, he disappeared. He supposedly moved to Florida, remarried, and would now be in his late 80s if he's still alive. While Roy was pleading guilty and going to prison, Cynthia's body was transported back to New York, where she had her funeral and was buried, now next to her parents. Her ghost is said to have been seen near the shack in Delaware and felt at the museum fairly often, looking for her slippers. The red slipper murder is just one of so many murders that are often forgotten. That's why seeing stories about them on display is an important reminder of the victim, Cynthia, and what happened in our community years ago. What other stories from your hometowns or museum exhibits do you want to see us cover? Any bloody axes or haunted dolls that used to creep you out as a kid, or even now? Please share your stories in the comments section. Till then, happy hunting at your local museums.